Hi, my name is Jenna Bond, and today I'm going to be presenting Chapter 8.7, Humans as Agents of Selection. So, to save a little bit of time, I'm just gonna kind of discuss as to why really quick, humans are acting as agents of selection. Basically, through the shattering mutation and through the Balsas Valley Teonstein, we have seen that humans have used different types of domestication methods, in order to use something to their own benefit. So whether that's breeding crops with desirable traits, or wanting to breed different animals with desirable traits, that's kind of what we've seen through history. And so, to kind of get into the nitty-gritty as to how humans have been agents of selection, we have chemical warfare, which is basically the war on humans versus insects. And this was done as a way to get rid of insects ruining crops. So pesticides and herbicides were invented to kind of lessen the amount of pests and weeds that were getting into farmers' crops, so that they could have a successful season with a lot of successful crops. And so this is done by mass applying a chemical pesticide to these crops to kill off a population that can't handle the chemical. However, what is noted is that yes, there is a population that will die off because of this chemical. It is not noted that there will be a few lingering within the population that is able to survive, and they will eventually procreate, reproduce, and create a new genetic line that is immune and resistant to these pesticides and herbicides. And so what we are now seeing is that insects are getting harder to control due to them evolving faster than the pesticides that are able to kill them off. And farmers are seeing a pattern of, within the first few generations of applying the pesticide and herbicide, everything is all good. There's no more pests, no more weeds. But by a few generations down, these same pests and weeds are coming back, because by now they have developed a mutation and have pushed the selection towards having immunity towards these chemicals. And so by 1999, 500 plus, or more than 500 species of pests were resistant to at least one type of pesticide. And so an herbicide I wanted to bring up real quick as an example is a glyphosate, which inhibits a phosphate that is crucial for plant survival. And now, while it works within the first few generations, this is also an herbicide that kills off all types of weeds as well too. It's not species specific. But what farmers have found, that within a few generations, all of these weeds have developed the same genetic resistance and have come back to their crops. And so then we have invasive species and altered environments. So we have basically pushed selection in favor of us of humans by building cities, travel, and urbanization. And so now species are being evaluated and are favored based on how well they're able to reproduce and survive alongside another set of species they have historically never lived with, which is humans. And so we have an example of the seed sancta plants, which has two different types of carrying seeds, wind-carried seeds and drop seeds. And scientists have found that drop seeds have been able to survive longer within sidewalks, and that's why we see these types of plants within the sidewalks as we go. And it's eventually the ratio of these plants that are able to have these two different types of seed has favored towards dropping seeds, because it's been being able to survive longer within our cities. So then we have intentional and unintentional invasive species. So invasive species can be introduced into an environment intentionally if it's not done correctly. So an example of how it is done correctly is wolf reintroduction into the Yellowstone Park, which was kind of done as a way to rebalance out the ecosystem. There's just too much prey, not enough food for everyone, and so this was a way to control the environment, and it ultimately worked out pretty good. Whereas the cane toads, they were initially introduced in Australia to kill off insects within the crops. However, they started eating animals that were native to Australia, and that's just starting to throw off the whole ecosystem, and selection is starting to become favored more towards the invasive species than the native species. We also see other invasive species such as the lionfish, which have been misplaced due to trade, travel, all that stuff. And they're known species to threaten the marine ecosystem due to them eating native species within the coral reefs that are there to maintain those coral reefs. So this can be a very good thing if done correctly, but once they become invasive, it's very hard for them to control. And then we have hunting and fishing, which is the opposite of, which is basically the opposite of breeding for traits that are desirable to humans. Rather, we are putting pressure on traits that are preferred for humans, leaving the unwanted traits to reproduce and eventually just decreasing the genetic pool. And so these are just some of the reasons, or some of the things that hunters look out for when they are hunting. And so I just wanted to bring up 2 examples of trophy hunting, which is the male deer, elk, moose for their horns, and then the mako and thresher sharks for their size. And what has been found is that over the past few years, their horn size and their body size has decreased because the smaller ones are being left to produce while the larger ones are being killed off. Hunting and fishing can also have a very negative effect on all species. As an example here, the Yangtze giant soft-shell turtle is on the brink of extinction due to hunting in Vietnam, and they just got called into